Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, everyone, for waiting. I see that we have had a couple more people duck in at the last minute. So, trust me, it's all been worth it. All right, in a second, I'm going to go and share my screen, and we can begin with introductions. So, let me just share my screen. All right. And I just want to go say thank you for this iVend training event that we are having. It is really nice to go and have everybody join us, and I can see that we have quite a few people here. This is really very impressively attended. It's so nice to have everybody join us here. I can see that we've got people from, wow, just about. Yeah, that's slightly further afield than on some of the other ones I've had, but still, everyone is very welcome here, and I'm so glad that you're here. If there are any questions, please ask them right away. I'm not precious about being interrupted. I can guarantee you that if you're asking the question, so is somebody else. This being a webinar, it's actually it actually lets me know that there are still people on the call, because that is something else with webinars, is sometimes you just don't know who is still on the call and who is not, and you don't know whether you've been cut off. I am at the moment, I'm actually calling you, I'm actually running this from Cape Town, where it's slightly overcast and windy, but yeah, such is the nature of traveling around here. Still, if there are any questions, please let me know and we can sort everything out. Now, for the next 5 days, we are going to be going and looking at the different aspects of iVend. And just to be fair with everybody, what we're looking at over here is at best a run through of what iVend can and can't do. Part of the reason is that there's a limit to how deep we can go into the actual into iVend itself. I'm going to go try and cover as much of the setup, how to go run the system, how to operate it as I can. But that doesn't mean that there will not be homework. In fact, there's most definitely homework, because you guys are going to need to go and follow up and read up on things online, how things work. So for the moment, I'm trying to go and familiarize you as much as I can with everything that we got here. As you can see, I'm Keith Morrison. I'm the Manager Consulting for Southern Africa, Southern Africa, and also reaching up into Africa. So essentially Sub-Saharan Africa, as well as choosing whatever other hats I need to go and have at whatever other time happens. So yeah, I try and go, just because I'm over here doesn't mean that you won't necessarily hear me going and speaking to you from across time and space in various other roles as we go along. So first things first, let's actually just dive into, I'm just going to go through some of the sales side. We are going to try and keep to a relatively set series of what exactly we are or what exactly we are going to cover. There will be some times where these might start a little later. This week there are one or two meetings that I do have to attend to, but I will update you on the previous meet. I will update you as we go along, just to go make sure that everybody knows when and how and what is going on. So, iVend Retail from City Access. Yes, City Access is the company. And on that, let's actually have a look at who we are. City Access, yes, it's kind of like how Microsoft makes Windows. City Access makes iVend Retail. So lots of customers, lots of countries, lots of partners, and established quite a while ago. Location, motivation, all the rest of it, these are here. By the way, if you do want these slides, please ask. I will try and I can share them out. I am going to point out that the slides that I'm using are slightly customized, but the ones that are here are available on the City Access Knowledge Portal, which I am going to try and have a quick run through. Okay, all right, I see that we do have a question. Please type it into the questions box, and I will try and answer it as quickly as possible. All right, so we'll try and have a little bit of a go over of this as well, so everyone can see what is going on here. Okay, so back to the slides, and then just a quick overview of what iVend is. Now, iVend is an end-to-end retail management solution. And what this is it's not just a point of sale. For some of you out there, particularly some of the people coming to us from Sage, SAP, Nav, and the various other environments that we run in, you might just be thinking, oh, it's just a little bolt-on plug-in thing that, right there, I'm sure it'll take 5 minutes to set up and it's dead easy to run. No. I myself was a SAP Business One consultant for about 10 years. And I thought that as well when I first joined, which was about 5 years ago right now. So and I will tell you right now, it is not that simple. It is actually, there is a lot that iVend can do. We don't, just to be clear, we don't need to be integrated to a system. We can run in standalone mode, but that is something that we're going to have a look at a little later. Okay, and the first question is, okay, sure. When, how? I think that we can, I will show you where you can get them. It's probably easier to go and download these. These, like I said, these set of slides are customized slightly, and some of them are actually a bit old, but I still use them because they are accurate, or at least the bits and pieces that I will be showing you are accurate. Some of the slides that I have here are slightly out of date, but that's because I mess around with them and I keep them updated as we go along. But yes, I will show you where you can get them and where you can get the latest versions of this. So, seamless and deep integration. This is, we'll see a bit later, it's accomplished by various different manners and means to actually go and integrate through. And on that note, I actually have one of the first questions I would like to go ask you guys. If you guys can please just type into the box. And go say, type into the box and just answer me this. How many of you have prior retail experience? And what I mean is, have you set up any previous retail systems? I see a couple of names who I do recognize, so yes, I would expect you guys to have prior retail experience. But if you can just go say, if you just go put there and say in the chat or in the questions how much retail experience, well, if you have retail experience or if you don't. If you don't, then that is not necessarily a problem. I will just, we'll go and we'll keep things relatively straightforward, and we can go and try and keep things going on. All right, so if you just let me know, and well, I'll continue, but just let me know in the question section. So, because that does also go help me just go say exactly who does and who doesn't have that. Okay, and I've got somebody with a hand up. Armand, I see that you have your hand up. If you have a question, please type it into the question section. Okay, here we go. No retail experience. Okay, thank you, Costa. That's fine. Okay. Yeah. Almond, if you have a question, once again, if you have a question, please put it into the question section. I'm just going to put your hand down for the moment. Thank you very much. All right. All right. So what is going okay, so from here, from the integration side, we go, well, from the actual where we integrate through to, we go across to, right, that we can be highly scalable. You're not just looking, you can do really some of the smallest side I've done was actually a really small golf shop, which was quite literally one store, one point of sale that only operated like 4 days a week. So that's how small you can get. So to the largest size, I think the largest one we've got is a couple of thousand stores in Egypt. So we can handle that. Obvious, and the big thing to note about that is that it's the same product. It's not a case of, oh no, there's iVend and then there's iVend Plus or iVend Enterprise Solution or anything like that. It is quite literally iVend. iVend Retail from the smallest to the largest. Once you do get to the largest, then there are some things that we do need to just be aware of. But That's more things on the hardware side, how you set up your hardware, how you do stuff with it. That is things that, those are things you just need to, oh good, all right. Okay, thank you, Armand. Those are things you just need to be aware of, particularly with how you're going, you're setting things up and exactly what you do. Okay, guys, if you can please just go put your hands down. Safal, Armand, and anyone else, you can just put your hands down for the moment. And if there are any other questions, we'll put those sorted out later. Also, ease of deployment, use, and maintenance. Yes, it is actually easy once you know what you're doing. It's like anything, you know. Once you know what you're doing, then it's easy. But if you don't know what you're doing, then yeah, well, you know, you can do some wrong turns. So, and just to give you an idea, some of the areas that we've dealt in before, these could be things such as your fashion, footwear, electronics, duty-free, sports, furniture, optical, specialty, supermarket, wine stores, as well as bookstores and pharmaceuticals. Depending on your customer and which regions you are in, then obviously you'll be able to do this. To give you an example, for instance, for fashion and footwear, we do have customers such as, for instance, ASICS. Fashion and footwear, this is where you deal with things such as your color size matrices. So do you have a certain color? So for instance, you've got a specific style of item, it's a jacket, and you can also see that it is small, medium, large, and red, green, and blue, for instance. Duty-free, we have a number of duty-free stores actually worldwide, so we've rolled out with quite a few of them. Sports, furniture, optical, we actually have an optical add-on that you can use to go and see exactly, to go and actually help optometrists do their optical setups. Okay, then specialty, supermarket, wine store, bookstores, and pharmaceuticals. Okay, and just to help you guys, yes, we are worldwide. We are one of those companies that has been worldwide and, well, that is worldwide that you've just never heard of. We do have offices everywhere, and I can see that from our partners that have joined us here. We've got people from South Asia all the way across Africa, and I think I see one or two in Latin America and North America in here. So this is really a global training that we are having. All right, and yeah. So you can see over here, there are plenty of places. We do have plenty of experience. We do know what's going on. We have, trust me, with iVend, 9 times out of 10, if you look at how things go, you're inevitably going to say, okay, I've got this problem. How do I do it? You dig around a bit in iVend, and I can guarantee you we've probably encountered that problem somewhere else. I know everyone loves to go say, oh, yes, this country, and I've been to so many countries where they all say this. Oh, this country, yes, we are our own special corner of crazy. No, right there. There are many corners of crazy around the world, and they really do strange and wonderful things. But 9 times out of 10, it's similar enough to somebody else's crazy that we can probably handle it. So plenty of things that we've been there, done that, bought the T-shirt, and we probably have experience and can help you with exactly how things all fit together. So beyond that, just a quick look at the Omni-channel at us and the Omni-channel platform. And then also some of the deployment diagrams that we're going to go touch on as we go through the actual setups. Now, the first thing I want you to note is the iVend Enterprise. This is our main center of the system. This is what actually runs iVend. This is how, this is the central part that actually integrates across. And you'll see more when we get across to the next slide of exactly how everything fits together. I'm just going to go switch back to here, and we will work through this as we go through. Next up is the iVend point of sale, and this is the Windows point of sale side, which we have done for which we've done for ages, really. And it's nice, it's secure, it works well, it does what it says on the label, and we're very pleased to have it going, to have it in here and working properly. Beyond that, we also have the iVend mobile app. And the mobile app over here works on either Android or Apple, and it is a fully fledged point of sale. It's not it's not one of these, oh no, you can only do queue busting. It is actually a proper point of sale that you can use. Excuse me. It is actually a proper point of sale, and you can use it for a number of other things. And hopefully we'll hit that on Friday, and you can actually go see how everything fits together. After that, we've got iVend e-commerce. The e-commerce section is something that we are slowly fading out. We generally integrate across to things like Magento, which has got a free version as well as a enterprise version that you can connect across to. Finally, we also have iVend Loyalty, which is built into iVend end-to-end, as well as iVend Passes. Now, if you guys have got an Apple phone, then you'll know about you will know about the actual iVend. Then you'll know about the Apple Wallet. We actually integrate through to that using iVend Passes. And I see I have a question. Okay, I'm getting something from Ovo going and saying, Ovo Obaro, he says he's losing audio from time to time. Is anyone else having problems with the audio? Okay, John says he's not. Chikla says yes, all good. My side, says Vanessa, mine's okay, all good. Okay, so it looks like, okay guys, if I can have a look at this and see what it says, it basically says, I think guys, if you're having trouble with the audio, just check which network that you're connected to. Certainly, if everyone was having issues, then yeah, I'd say that I'd try something. But it looks like it's only happening to some people. So just maybe check which network you're there to. Okay, all right. So Ian, if you have a question, please type it. Otherwise, I'm going to put your hand down. Okay. Okay, it looks like, yeah, I would agree with you, Zeph. It's local issues, I would think. Okay, all right. Guys, this will, by the way, these are being recorded and will be available online afterwards. Okay, right, and you will be able to go and review them then, so you shouldn't have any problems with the audio. On that side. Obviously, I know you're hanging on my every word as we go through this, but if you do want to go and hang on my every word afterwards again, well, you're more than welcome to. Okay, Armand says, why are we phasing out iVend e-commerce? Excellent question. The very simple answer is that there are other e-commerce out there that do everything that we did and more. The side of, for instance, was it WooCommerce is one that I know has popped up. Shopify is another one. WordPress, and WordPress goes through to WooCommerce if I remember correctly. Magento certainly seems to be a world leader in e-commerce for this. There's also a number of other things that integrate through to these different ones, and to be honest, it's something that was taking a lot. It was taking a lot of time. We had a couple of sites, but the problem is, as well as people are increasingly seeing e-commerce as separate from the point of sale system. Which is correct. It is, having dealt with e-commerce, having seen the way that it's set up, it is really something quite different than your normal retail, and it's also something that is typically run separate from the retail side. So even though I know they are both e-commerce and it's point of sale and all the rest of it, they do need to integrate through, and there's a number of things that go with it. Yeah, from my side, from what I've seen, we didn't really have the call for our e-commerce. We've had much more call to go and integrate through to other e-commerce platforms that people are more invested in. So that's also that side over there. But fortunately, because of the way that we've integrated through our actual to those other e-commerce platforms, much of the same functionality is there, and we're able to go and replicate pretty much everything we had on iVend e-commerce and more. So we'd rather go across with that. Okay. Final thing is iVend reporting and analytics, because no system is complete without a proper reporting and analytics set. We have, just to be clear, we run on Microsoft SQL. We can run Crystal reports through iVend itself. We don't restrict that. You can do it. It's not a problem. We also have our own reporting tools that are built into iVend, so you can use those as well. That is certainly up to you if you want to use it. as well as if you are familiar with Crystal, using our reporting tools are relatively similar. So it's up to you. If you want to stay with what you know, we probably have something in here for you to use for your setup. Just some of our customers: Young at Heart Toys, Vodafone. For some reason, we've ended up with a lot of telephone networks. We're looking at Vodafone, Vodacom, MTN, and a number of Virgin Mobile. We picked up a number of these worldwide. I don't know, for some reason they seem to like our product, and as well, there's a couple of other points as well. Okay, I seem to be getting. I'll deal with that in a second. Okay, all right. So that is these are so we do have some of the other bits, some of the other people here. Okay. Okay, I'm glad for that. That got sorted out. Okay, so you'll see in a minute. I have a slide to exactly explain why we do integrate through so well to these different telco sites. But beyond that, also we've got places like African Sales Company, Sunrise Furniture. These are some of the local customers up here, so they won't be too familiar with our international audiences. Guys, once again, if you do have a question, type it in the question box. I do see the raised hand, but right, I do see the raised hand so far. But if you can please go and if you can please type it into the questions, I will answer it as soon as possible. Then internationally, some of the other people who we picked up, right, Samsonite, Virgin Mobile, Echo, Lou Alberti, Henry Lloyd, Shark Sports and Entertainment. So yes, we do also do sporting teams. We have a couple of them actually. Goodwill, we have a number of Goodwill stores, Havianas, Asics, Ivu, and Almudeep, which is one of the largest hardware providers in the Middle East. So we have a number of, and this is just a mere sprinkling of exactly of some of the people who we've done and who we've implemented and who are running iVend. We have, trust me, we have lists of many, many more that are probably more up to date with this, that are more up to date than what we have over here. So after that, how does this all exactly fit together? And that's where I'm coming to this, which is the deployment landscape. And as I call it, it is my, I've been accused of, and I completely agree, this is my favorite slide. And it's my favorite for a very, very, very good reason. And that is, it's a very nice place for me to go and explain how everything fits together. So over here, we have the, over here, you'll have your standard ERP system. That's sitting at the bottom. Then connected up to iVend Enterprise Server. That would be connected by APIs. And guys, I just want to point out about this deployment is that there is, I'm sorry, Ian, if you're having a problem with my sound, it looks like it's probably going to be a local thing. Can you please try a different network? Okay, so one thing I just want to go point out with this is the way that this is deployed is not the only way to deploy iVend. This is one way to deploy iVend. I will try and show you that there are in fact many, many ways to deploy iVend. It's really up to you. The reason I've got these, your ERP server and your enterprise server separate is for one very simple reason. It's easier to go and explain. There is indeed no reason I can't have my enterprise server and my ERP server as the same machine. That's perfectly possible. It's not a problem. And in fact, what I'm actually showing you at the moment is actually set up as one machine. It is actually all set up on one machine. And one of the things that you should be looking at is downloading and installing our demo stack, which you're going to have to do on your own time. Unfortunately, I don't have time to go walk you through it at the moment, but that will all run on one machine. You don't need to have multiple machines here. So over here, we've got the enterprise server that connects across to your ERP. Like I said, can all be on there, can all be on the same machine. Something else I do want to point out, a bit more on the technical side, is that this is all running on, we run on Microsoft. We run on the .NET, we're built on the .NET platform. We do not run on was it OSX or whatever they're calling it at the moment. We don't run on Apples, and we don't run on, well, we don't run on the Apple desktops. Well, unless you load Windows onto it, in which case we do run on it, and we do not run on Linux. Okay, we pretty much Microsoft because, well, pretty much everyone is on Microsoft. So that's the way that we really go forward. From here, in here as well, we'd be running on, because we're on Microsoft, we're running on your normal Microsoft SQL Server. At the moment, we still support all the way back to 2008 R2, but considering that that is now 11 years old, right there, that's quite a long way back to actually still be running something from that time. I believe our latest version of iVend also supports 2017, SQL 2017 and up. But that's something that we're rolling out at the moment. Indeed, 6.6 should be rolling out fairly soon, at the end of the month, if I remember correctly. So at the moment, I'm technically showing you 6.5.6, which is a slightly older version, but there's not really that much difference on the front end between 6.56 and 6.6. So, all right. So that's the, and last thing I want to point out about installing iVend is you need to be aware of the collation. We have got hardware and software guides, as well as installation guides, as well as guides for just about anything on the actual iVend portal. Because of that, you need to go there, have a look at the guides. It will tell you exactly how to install stuff and how to get things up and running there. Okay, so back to the deployment diagram here. This being the enterprise server. From here, we communicate across the lovely cloud of internet to the store server app. I have a question. Okay, all right, so that seems to come, once again, audio seems to be an issue. But it seems, guys, that the audio is a local issue. I'm not hearing, it seems to be a very specific set of people who are complaining about it. It doesn't seem to be universal. So the enterprise server over here communicates across the internet to the iVend store server app. And you'll see I've actually labeled it as a store server app because it's not a full store server. Please do not think it's a proper, it's not a Blade server. It's not one of these big black boxes you need to get a wizard to come along and fix. It is just a small desktop laptop, really. It just needs to have an i5 with 4 gigs of RAM. We're not looking at the latest, greatest, cutting edge, bleeding edge kind of things that you need to run. Basically because the problem is with retail is the amount of capital expenditure for all the POS machines and everything else is just, it's huge. And that's also one thing to realize what you're dealing with when you're dealing with ERPs is, yes, you'll have an ERP over here, and I'm sure that many of you who are used to running ERP systems will think that this is the ERP, is going to do everything. No. iVend will be doing a lot of stuff and just feeding things back to the ERP. That's generally the way I've seen it roll out, because remember, iVend's running everything at the stores. Even if you do a lot of with the ERP at the actual head office, yeah, iVend's still going to be running every single store out there. And one last thing on the ERPs is please, please, please go and read up on how the integration for your ERP works. Does it require extra licenses? Does it require things like code units? How and what and why does it exactly need to run? Because it is different for every ERP. I do not have time in this specific session to go and to go over that. There's a lot of, because each ERP is different, there's a lot of different ways and different things that they need to be set up to integrate in. That is all documented online on the City Access Knowledge Portal. I'm guessing, seeing you have joined in on this, that you have got the City Access Knowledge Portal, well, that you've logged in and you've registered for this. If you haven't, go through and register for it really as soon as possible. All right. So, like I said over here, it's just a small store server. It's just a small device at the store. This device, it can actually, if you're running a one person, one POS shop, then you can actually just go and have all of these things on the same machine. You don't need to have it on separate machines. Once again, the way I'm showing you this over here is largely just to go show you this is one way to deploy it. It's not the only way to deploy it. So there's the store server app. Okay. And the entire reason that we have this over here is you'll be running something like SQL Express, or if it's a bigger store, it might be a full SQL layout. But the reason we have it is because if something goes wrong and you need to go and for whatever reason the internet goes and internet disappears, because we all work in different parts of the world where internet can be spotty for a variety of reasons, as we are seeing with the audio. But if the internet does go, your store can still continue managing and going on with they can still continue selling, and they can sell, they can stock, they can do whatever else they need to. And then once the internet comes back, iVend will resynchronize back across with the enterprise server automatically. The big thing I do want to point out about iVend is that we are a near real-time system. What this means is that information travels between the enterprise and the store and the enterprise, and indeed everywhere in the system, as quickly as possible. Most people will go say, yes, that's a lot of salespeople say, yes, it's a real-time system. Technically, it's a near real-time system because there is some processing that happens in different stages in between, but realistically, you're looking at, say, a sale at the point of sale going across as quickly as possible to your enterprise server and into your ERP, depending on things such as your bandwidth, your internet coverage, all the rest of it. That could be as quick as a minute or less. Okay, however, if you have issues, depending on your integration, because your integration might take time, depending on how it connects across, that might on how your internet is, that might also take time. It could be longer, but it certainly should be pretty quick. Okay, so that will move across as quickly as possible between iVend and, between the store and the enterprise and the store as quickly as possible. Just to be clear, when information moves from enterprise to the store, that is replication because it's iVend to iVend. When information moves from the enterprise to the ERP, that is integration. The reason I bring this up is there's been a number of times I've had people tell me, well, my integration's not working. And I say, well, what are you integrated to? I thought that you were running standalone. Oh no, my store's not talking to my enterprise. And it's just that the thing is with our support is that they might end up going down the wrong rabbit hole. If you say integration's not working, meanwhile you mean replication's not working. So just be aware of that. Just a little something to be aware of and to put in your little dictionary of iVend speak. So at the actual store server over here, this will connect across to the iVend point of sales. These are Windows machines. The normal iVend point of sale, they're really, we are scheduled to stop supporting Windows 7, largely because Microsoft is stopping support of Windows 7. Which is kind of sad because Windows 7 was pretty good. Windows 10 seems to have taken over most of that. We only recently just we stopped supporting XP when Microsoft stopped supporting XP. So I would not recommend running on XP on any of these, largely because I know that the second Microsoft said we're stopping support for it, all XP computers got targeted by a huge list of exploits that people tried to put through on them. Okay, so just be aware of that. Then, so this is the point of sale. That's where your cashier sits. We integrate through to various point of sale devices using the OPOS standards. That is, you can Google it online. That's OLE for POS. Basically, it's a universal standard. It's set up in the US. It's used just about everywhere. Everyone, yeah, you should not have a problem finding your OLE for your drivers for that. The only time I really find I have issues with drivers is when I get stuff that's no name brand. Okay, so that normally when I get no name brand devices from across wherever it might be, call it China, call it wherever in the world it comes from, normally then I have normal issues with OLE devices. But otherwise, normally we don't have issues with them. Like I said, it's a universal standard. It's supported by Microsoft, NCR, Epson, all the ones out there. If you've seen a normal device, it'll work with us. Well, so long as it's an OPOS device, it should work with us without a problem. From here, there's also the iVend Store Management Station. Okay, which is also which is where you do things such as your cash ups, your day ends, your management of the entire, your management of the store, your goods receipts, stock transfers, anything like that. That will be set over here in your store management station. If you're setting up things such as who can do what in the system, promotions, those are normally set up at the enterprise. You can have them set, if you want, you can set them up at the store. Once again, iVend has the flexibility to do it in either way, in either side. You can to go and handle it out in any way you want. Finally, we have the iVend mobile point of sale. The mobile point of sale itself actually has a small database that runs on it. And once again, this runs on your Android and Apple devices. So that's not a problem. There are various devices that you can connect through to them. Please be aware there is no OPOS standard for Android or for Apple. This does mean that your OPOS your various OPOS standards, that we effectively have to go and check every device that is being used with the point of sale. With the Android and Apple point of sale, we've picked the top 10 or 15 devices that we found. We've integrated through to them, and they work. So that's quite nice to have. And that is all set up on our mobile POS platform here. Your mobile POS can also be used for deliveries. So I do know that in some parts of the world, they do still have people doing deliveries from the shop to the store, or from the shop to the person's home. We integrate through to Google Maps on that. Okay, right. Okay, Armand is asking which are those devices. Armand, there is a hardware and software guide for the mobile POS online. Please, it will be available there. You should be able to go check and see what it is. Like I said, you can use the iVend mobile POS to go and deliver things from the shop to a person's house. That includes things such as, if they're doing just sort of normal scooter bike deliveries or whatever it might be, we do handle that. I would like to point out with the actual mobile POS, it integrates through to Google Maps, as well as through to the telephony system on the device. So somebody can call you up and say, hi, I have this delivery. I want to make it to this place at this time. And they, are you at home? At which point, if they are at home, you can then do the actual, they can then do the actual delivery. After that, we then go through to iVend e-commerce. Like I said, we have sunset the product, but also this would be the place where the integrator would sit through to whichever e-commerce platform you want to go through to. The e-commerce platform, there are a number of them out there, and they also seem to be very regional. And it also seems to be that some people just seem to prefer certain ones over other ones, and I haven't really gotten to the bottom of why, because it looks like a number of them, well, as usual, a lot of it seems to be what is free, and a lot of these proclaim, oh no, you get X, Y, and Z, and this is free, and that is free, and this over here is available, and oh no, this is an add-on that somebody can do. But most of the free e-commerce platforms I've seen, specifically WooCommerce being the one that I've dealt with quite a bit, they actually go and they say that it's not actually as free as, it's not actually as free. Typically what it's the usual thing. What you get for free, right there, you lose on consulting fees. So, okay. Next up, we have the iVend passes. If you are familiar with the iVend, if you're familiar with the Apple Wallet, this essentially integrates through to the Apple Wallet. It's the same thing with the, we actually have an app for the Android side, so you can actually use these on your Android device. The iVend passes over here, the nice thing about them is you can do things like geolocating them. So if I walk past a store that is set on my iVend pass, it will actually, my phone will ping and say, you're within 50 meters of the store and you've got so many points or so much loyalty money that's available to you. You can go and you'll be able to go look at that and then walk in and go spend it. At the same time, we also have iVend reporting and analytics. And the reason it's sitting on the outside over here is because on iVend itself, there is actually a web report portal that you can deploy. The web report portal itself is actually a chargeable feature. But the basic reporting and everything that is available, the basic reporting is available in the enterprise server already. That is not a chargeable feature. So we don't charge extra just because we don't charge extra for the reports or the reporting tools. That's all built in. All right. So this is a basic deployment of iVend. Like I said, this is not the only way to deploy iVend. To give you an idea, there's a number of other ways to go and deploy iVend. These are some of the other ways, including some that include things like cloud deployments. We do not have a present iVend cloud for the very simple reason that iVend cloud is that most of our partners want to deploy into their own clouds. So for us, there's very little reason to go and maintain our own cloud when other people want to do the cloud maintenance themselves. So, but there are a number of other deployment methods and access that we can do there. Finally, we also have finally just some things on security. Okay, and I see I've got a question that popped up. Okay, Armand, that's fine. Okay, Armand will just need to download the session, but that's okay. Secure access. Just one thing I do want to point out about the entire of iVend, the way that we can be set up. iVend can be set up as what's called PCI. Well, we are completely PCI certified. To explain what that means, PCI stands for Payment Card Industries. That means it's a particular security standard that all of your credit card companies adhere to. All of you that they basically set it up. So MasterCard, Visa, Discover, JCB, Carte Blanche, American Express, Diners. It's a security standard that they are set to. So basically, nobody's going to end up and try and hack in. Well, it will be extraordinarily difficult for somebody to try and hack in. And if they do come in, it's generally not through any technology that iVend uses. It's typically because somebody left a port open or somebody didn't follow operating procedures. We have it. We've been certified. I don't know. I think there's a certificate that we have on the wall that is available in iVend itself. That is available from iVend. You are not just going to go and end up, if you deploy iVend, we're as secure as you can be. So long as you keep all the other security measures up to date, they shouldn't come in through anything we do. You'll see over here passwords are, I'll say, in encrypted formats, authentication, all that is logged and validated in the database. And I believe with 6.6, we have actually done a number of things to go and improve the actual security of iVend itself. But that's because with iVend, we try to go make sure that it is as secure and up-to-date with the latest technology as possible. That includes things such as double encryption on passwords, which is something else that we have also put in. So nobody can stand over here on the internet and go pick up credit cards and whatever else might be going backwards and forwards. That information between this server and over here at the enterprise is all encrypted. It's very difficult to go and just quickly decrypt and try to steal somebody's details that way. Next up, and this is our real key to why iVend works well. Here we go, one more. Okay, Kirsty is asking about the various license requirements. Kirsty, I'm just going to do the iVend extensibility, and then I will come back to licensing, and we can touch on that. So the iVend extensibility over here is really one of the things that sets us apart from most other point-of-sale systems out there. Because most other point-of-sale systems out there are just a bit of extra code that somebody wrote when they were in university to go and for a store on the side. And trust me, I actually checked it used to be a couple of years ago that in your third year bachelor's computer science courses, third year computer science courses at a lot of universities, one of their requirements would actually, one of their projects that you would be expected to do is write a point of sale system for a store, right? Which is, yeah, you can see why. It's relatively complex, but not too complex to go and take months and years. And it should be something that most people can figure out. And to give you an idea, over here in South Africa, I did a bit of research, and I found approximately 70 to 80 homegrown point-of-sale systems. I'm sure that if you did a bit of research in whatever regions you're in, you're going to find probably about the same amount of homegrown retail systems where somebody took their third year computer science course and said, hey, this isn't bad, we could sell this for money. And yeah, that's fine, and it does work okay for your smaller stores, but trust me, the second you get bigger, the second you want to do it properly and professionally, this is where iVend really steps in and shines, because we've been thought through properly, we've been thought through professionally, we've worked with people for decades, and we know exactly where the retail industry is going. So when they want things like integration through to iVend passes, we already have it. It's not a case like I see with a lot of systems out there is they say, oh no, we want an integration through to a new payment gateway. And the guy says, oh, I need to go and unpack the code and rewrite the integration to the payment gateway. Or, oh, you want integration through to e-commerce. Oh, that's going to take long. You know, that's a lot of people in these smaller point of sales do not have the ability and the manpower to do that. We do. And we also expose parts of this to people like our partners, like you guys. So for instance, if you want to integrate through to new systems, you have got full access through to the iVend API. It's not like with some of the, and I have dealt with, I know which ERP systems are out there, and I know which ones they are like, where the ERP system has a super double secret access to their own APIs that you don't have access to, whereas the normal APIs they give are quite frankly just terrible. No, we have the APIs we use are the same APIs you have access to. You've got full access through to them. And in fact, a number of our partners have actually written integrations through to different things for iVend. These include integrations through to things like QuickBooks, as well as the Sage integrations were initially written by a partner as well. Beyond that, we also have the iVend SDK. So while you can go write your integration with the iVend API, you can also use the iVend SDK to write the integration, as well as if you need to go speed things up, or if you need to go slow things down, or if you need to just change things around or how things work, you can do that using the iVend SDK as well. Really, it allows you to go create add-ons within iVend to go and actually help with integration, help both with integration as well as also with processing of certain sales. And this is really what has helped us when we integrate through to things, when we go and we work with things like telecom companies to actually have the points of sale at places like Vodacom and Vodafone and all the rest of them. Right. Okay, I'm getting, okay, if the iVend API is previously not installed, then can we install the API features only with the iVend installer? Unfortunately, no. If the iVend API was not installed, you need to uninstall iVend and then reinstall iVend completely. Unfortunately, our installer does not work in discrete packages like that, which is something that I've been working with the guys to try and do, because if we can do it in discrete packages, it makes it much, much, much easier to actually handle, as opposed to just installing everything at once. So unfortunately, no. You need to uninstall iVend and reinstall iVend. Fortunately, if you do that, you don't actually lose any of the information because you should still have your SQL database there. You should still have most of your SQL database, which has got most of your settings. So it's relatively straightforward to do, but it's typically when I install, I just make sure I install the API no matter where I'm installing. I always install it. The API runs on Microsoft technology. There's no additional license for it, and I haven't forgotten about going back to the licenses, Kirsty. But there's no additional license for the API itself. It's there, it's available, you can use it, it's up to you. It's up to you whether you install it or not. I just install it automatically because it's just easier. Beyond that, we also have the POS interface designer, and you can go and change your POS interface around to look just about any way that you want. This is only really available on the Windows point of sale. Okay, unfortunately, due to restrictions on the on Android and Apple on the app stores there, we can't actually set the designer through for that side. We would love to, but then it would it would mean that the app needs to get reviewed and there's other issues with it. Okay, right there. So there we go, covered that. Beyond that, the iVend report designer and the iVend dashboard designer and the POS receipt designer, we do have those all built in. Those are available and are part of the system. So back to licensing. So back to my favorite slide because it is very easy to explain licensing from here. First things first. If there's an integration through to from enterprise to the ERP, well, look, if you guys write the integration, then obviously you can determine the licensing. But if it's one of our integrations, it's probably going to have a license attached to it. So that means that you're probably going to, there'll be a license for that. There might, you'll need to check your setups on your ERP side. There may be additional licenses from the ERP side that we require. Typically, there is, you need at least one ERP licensed user to integrate through, but that's the way most ERPs work. For the iVend Enterprise server itself, there is no license. That is correct. There is no license for the iVend Enterprise server. You can have it as you can have it just by itself, but there is a license associated to what we call the management console, and you would need the management console to access the enterprise server. So, yeah. At the same time, the iVend store server, there is a license for. There is a license associated with this. Typically, when you buy one store server, you get a free management console license with it. Right, one free. That's it. And please, once again, sorry, not once again, but please, guys, have a word with your channel sales managers, with the guys associated with it for the latest and up-to-date settings and prices for the actual, for things like your store operations, for the rest of it, because at the moment, I am not, I'm on the technical side. I don't have prices or anything else like that. This is just how we're going to redeploy the licenses. If you want prices, channel sales manager. And the important thing to note about the store server is that it is deployed on this specific machine. It is connected through to that specific machine. It's a per device license. Same thing over here with the iVend POS. It's a per device license. So technically you can have as many people as you want working on the POS. You can only have one, and before anyone thinks, oh, I'll just open up multiple instances. No, you can only have one instance of iVend POS running at a time with one user logged in. You can have as many consecutive users as you want, but you can't have multiple concurrent users. So then we get down over, and by the way, before I get to the management console, the iVend POS license is exactly the same license as used for the iVend mobile POS. In fact, you can actually deactivate a mobile POS and activate a POS, or you can deactivate a POS and activate a mobile POS just by changing which licenses are assigned. It's pretty straightforward. All right. Okay, license duration depends on which model you go for. We've got two. You can either do subscription or you can do perpetual. Now, how exactly that breaks down? Effectively, it's if you do subscription, it's monthly. If you do perpetual, then it is a year. It is year long. For more information, once again, please contact your channel sales manager. Okay, so that is, and yeah, so once again, by the way, your mobile POS license is also a per device license. Just because it moves doesn't change how it functions. Mobile POS is per device, the normal POS is per device. The store manager station over here is the one exception on the per device rule. Pretty much everything else is per device, even including the integration is generally a per device license, because you're not really going to go move things around too much with integrations. It generally happens on one machine and that's it. Obviously, if there's a failure of the machine, you can go and unassign and reassign the license. That is not a problem. The big difference over here with the store manager station or the management console is you can assign the license on either a per device basis or on a per user basis. So that means that if the user has the license, he can log into the management console, whichever management console is available in the store. You can limit it to only being management consoles in the store. You can allow it to be management consoles across in other sections. Those are other bits that you can do. We'll dive deeper into that as we get more into iVend. William, please go and have a look. Guys, if you're looking for things like manuals, my default answer is going to be check the CKP, because the City Access Knowledge Portal will have a breakdown of it. This is just a very light overview of licensing and how this works. Okay, so those are the main points of licensing that you'll typically deal with. The one thing you don't see over here is loyalty. Loyalty is a subscription license that comes in different bundle packs that are available. Those typically are bought yearly, if I remember correctly. The integration through the e-commerce is also if I remember correctly, that is I think that's a subscription. You'll once again check with your local channel sales manager on that. iVend passes I know is a subscription, and a subscription license that's yearly. That's also based on your different pack levels. And finally, your iVend reporting and analytics. This is for the web report viewer. The web report viewer, I believe, can be bought on perpetual or not. It's up to you. So those are the main points of iVend, of licensing that we have here. If there are any more questions, then we'll have a look at that a bit later. All right, so okay, before we dive into the actual use of iVend itself, I just want to go and quickly send off. I see I'm being bugged on. It's typical, isn't it? You guys set this up. I can see I'm being bugged on Skype, but let's just go and log in over here, and we can go get a start on this. Now, this over here is the iVend point of sale. Typically, when it pops up, it's going to come up with a touchscreen, a keyboard, and that is something I do want you guys to note, is that iVend point of sale is fully touchscreen capable. In fact, we're pretty much designed around it. Now, I myself am not going to be using any touchscreen capabilities today. By the way, that's this thing that's popped up over here, the little error message. That's just to go say that I haven't run a day end in a while. It is not something you need to worry about. And yes, I forgot. This is a hangover from one of my previous, from one of the previous setups I did. So over here, welcome to the apparel store. As you can see, this is, just move that a bit. This apparel store over here is actually one of the layouts that I briefly flashed past you a bit earlier. Okay, you can completely customize these layouts. What I would recommend, if you're going to go and create your own layouts, which you can through the management console, rather start with one of the layouts that we have and customize it to how you want it, than trying to build everything from scratch. You can build it from scratch. There's nothing stopping you. It's the reason I recommend you go and you first look at what we got and then customize it is primarily because it's going to take a bit of time to go and for people to go, and it takes more time to go build from scratch than it does just to go customize something. Excuse me, gents. That's thirsty work on this side. So this over here is one of the front ends that we have. Like I said, customize it to your heart's content, make it show what you want. And the first point that I really want to come to up here is not any of the really shiny buttons or anything like that, but it's just the scan bar. And the scan bar is the primary interface for iVend. It's the point where you go and you scan in your barcodes, your items, your whatever it might be. You can scan it into here to this point. Now, the important thing to note about this is that this scan bar actually has about, well, it's up to about 17 different levels of information that it looks for when you want to scan something. So if I put in something as simple as a barcode or an item code, it will go through and it will find the item code associated in the system. There we go. So it's now found this item code for the shirt. I can also go across if I wanted to. I can actually go to start. I can actually use this to go search for other things in the system as well. And that includes things such as serial numbers. Yes, by the way, we do full serial number tracking and full batch tracking, or lot tracking as it's sometimes called. We do that completely in the system. That's including things like expiry dates, which is very important if you're doing anything to do with pharmacies. So you can scan in serial numbers, you can scan in batch numbers. There's a whole list of things that are associated with this. But beyond that, I can also go start to search for things such as, let's go say, somebody walks in and says, oh, there was this one Apple thing that you guys had the other day, and I can type in Apple, I'm going to press enter, and it will go search through various things. And now it's actually going to say, aha, okay, we've got all these different Apple products here, and it will bring it up and you can go look through for that specific product, which is very handy, specifically when there are times when people say, there was this thing that I wanted, and I can't remember what, I think it was this, which is, with the best will in the world to the cashiers sitting there going, what? How does this work? The cashier just looks at the person going, you are clearly crazy. So at least now they can go type it in and say, okay, oh, you meant you mean one of these? And they can look at the side and go say, oh, okay, well, here's the picture. And you can go determine exactly what the person wants. The guy can go say, oh, yes, it was an Apple thingy. Oh, yes, there it is. It was one of these. Pineapple. Yeah, because that's the way it works with shopping. Is inevitably, yeah, it was an Apple thingy. Yes, and by the way, I am speaking from experience of having some of having a complaint like that and how to deal with it. Yes, pineapple. So with this over here, once you go and you scan in an item, it will obviously go bring it up over here. But beyond that, the next party trick for the scan bar, but wait, we're not finished yet, is you can actually also search for your customers. So let's say a customer walks in and says, I've forgotten my loyalty card at home. Can you? I should be on your system. Can you quickly search for me? Okay, sure. What's your name? Edward. Okay. Or actually, let's go with in this particular case. I just want to show you this. We'll go with John, not Jayon, but John. There we go. Helps if you can spell. So here you go. You'll see I've done a search and it's brought through John Lennon. Right, whose account has been inactive probably since the early 1980s. John Williams, Johnny Griffin, and you'll see it's done a part search there as well because we've got Johnny Griffin as well as James Johnson. So you've got different people there. You can also, I see somebody put their hand up. So far, if you have a question, please once again, please go and type it out. And we will answer it that way. Okay, so there you can go see it's done it's gone and it's brought this in, and it's gone and searched for part searches as well, which is quite nice. And there's a number of different search criteria that it looks at. If, for instance, it immediately goes and finds the person, so for instance, I'm going to select Edward, and you'll see it says customer change to Edward, and that's Edward Robinson. And he has got, there's a mobile phone, email, so it just allows me to go and do extra searches on, or extra things on that. Okay. Yes, this will be shared afterwards as well. It should be shared on the City, this presentation will be shared on the City Access Knowledge Portal. There should be other ones there as well that I've done. So if you don't find this immediate one, you'll be able to go find that similar ones up there. And by the way, guys, if I do mispronounce your name, I'm sorry, right? But yeah, unfortunately, it's one of the hazards of this world is that unfortunately, I am probably going to go say something that is probably offensive to somebody somewhere along the line for no other reason than I just have no idea that it's that's the case. Okay, but here you go. If I do something like that, apologies in advance. So here you go, the suit, the pineapple, and if I want to go and actually, but if I want to do a specific search for something, I can actually come down here to the item search, where if I do the item search, it will then go and bring up, I can then do the first, I can do the search over here to go see exactly what's available. You'll see I've got different search criteria. I can search by code, I can search by description, UPC code, UPC, Universal Product Code. I've recently found out that not everybody else goes and knows it as Universal Product Code, also known as SKU code, typically also known as barcode. So yeah, that's typically what we understand the UPC to be. You can also search by groups, by categories, customer catalog numbers. There's a batch of things you can search for over here. And you'll see that once I do a search, I can come over here, I can go to my, click view, and it will give me a view of the item. I can even go and drill down into my dashboard for this, which will take a second to open up as it collates all the data. And there we go. This is a dashboard that I have for this item. Now, this dashboard itself is completely customizable. You can do that. You can change it. You can modify it. It's entirely up to you how and what you want it to display. Also, I can, if I go to view inventory, I can also view the inventory in all the warehouses. And something I want to point out is that I'm logged in over here on the point of sale as a cashier. So I've got a very limited view of the inventory I can see and what is available in the inventory itself. If I come across to the management console, and I'm going to log in as a separate user. By the way, when you install the demo stack, we will give you the usernames and the passwords, and this is actually what I'm using here, the demo stack. So you'll be able to go see similar things like this. Once again, I have customized my demo stack because I have had it for quite a bit. There we go. We're just going to log in. Okay. And if I go and have a look at how my inventory view looks in here for the same item. So over here I've selected the, let's have a look. This is the men's Ralph Lauren's shirt. Okay. Okay, well, as soon as my management console loads up, we can have a look at it. But you'll actually see that it does look slightly different for a number of different reasons. Primarily because it actually means that I can go and actually limit what certain users see to certain places, as opposed to going and saying no, you can't see this, or as opposed to going and saying it's a generic view for everyone. It seems to be taking a bit longer than expected. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. All right, if we can, and yeah, this please wait loading thing has just popped up over here. It is actually associated with the management console, but for some reason it's overriding and it's appearing here. That is one thing I do want to point out, guys, is that in the name of fixing bugs, I have horribly tortured my system. I do have most of them out, but there are some peculiarities, like, for instance, this thing appearing that do happen from time to time. but that's 9 times out of 10, that's basically because, yeah, I've done something to the system. It's not something you should expect your systems to do. All right. I can also do things like customer searches. So once again, more or less the same criteria. I can go and drill down. And if we go across to, where's Edward? As you probably guessed, Edward is somebody who I use quite a bit. And we can also go drill down and actually see what his dashboard says. And there you can go see it's got total sales, last 10 transactions, average sales amount, all the rest of it, sales year to date, sales by product group, sales and refund if there were any. At the moment, not really. And once again, it's completely customizable. The entire idea being for this is that what you see over here is just, it's an idea. We fully expect you guys, if you go and you show it to somebody, they're going to go say, that's nice, but can I do X, Y, and Z? And at which point you're going to say, sure. And you can then go and adjust it to exactly how you want to go and actually have it displayed. Essentially, each of these little widgets over here is running off a SQL query. We will look more on that later on as we get more into the system. So, all right, now it seems like if that thing has gone away that there we go, our management console has done its search. So we're going to go across to the same shirt that we had earlier. I'm going to go view, and I'm going to go view inventory on the product itself. And then just to go compare it again to the actual, to what we saw over here, I do the search. And you can already see that my columns that are available here are slightly different to the columns that are available on my management console. So I'm going to go to the same thing, go view inventory, and you see my inventory view is much truncated over here compared to my inventory view in the management console where I'm logged in as a different user. So essentially you can say on a per user basis, managers can see product cost, price, whatever it might be, but cashiers can't. They can just see what's in stock. So that really helps you just control who can see what where. There are also a number of other things that are available. And please, the other thing to realize is that I am running a lot of this in effectively super user mode, or administrator mode, I should say, primarily because it's just easier and I don't have to stop every 5 minutes to go and authorize stuff to happen for the actual cashier. Your normal cashiers will not be able to go and say, right-click on something and bring up, say, the change caption button. Now, you can, the one thing I want to point out about your change caption property over here is you can actually go change what it says. So instead of available quantity, you can go change it to in-store quantity or available in-store quantity. But that is also linked through to your different languages that we have. And we've got, because we're built on the Microsoft stack, we can really leverage their technology, which means that, yes, we do have, you can see over there, we've got things like Afrikaans, which is relevant in my region, as well as Achim, Djibouti, dozens of different types of Arabic. Asu, yeah, I'm not going to go read through all of these things. I would like to point out that for you guys for anyone in in East Africa, let me see if it's over here, if I can just find it. There we go, Kiswahili. These are available. This is an available translation, even Kikuyu, if you really want to go there. I want to point out that we are not translated to all these languages. Okay? These are languages that there is an actual import template that you can get, that you can import into iVend to do the translation for this. That's up to you. At the moment, we're translated to about 15 different languages, which include, I think it's the top 15 languages in the world. So there's Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, English, and Dutch, and a couple others that pop up. But we are translated to about 15 different languages. We are not translated to all of these languages. But if you do want to go translate, if you do want to go load up a translation for these languages, it is a template. You can import it. Once it's imported, you'll be able to view it in that language. The language is actually set per user. per employee. So if I log in, I get to see it in English. If somebody else logs in, they might get to see it in whatever language they want. Okay, as well as you can also drill down to things like serial and batch numbers from here. At the bottom of this section over here, you'll see I've got what's termed locations. Now, the locations in here are the locations of a, this over here is the locations of inside a store. For you Sage 300 people who are on the call, I am not talking about a warehouse. For us, a store would be a warehouse. I know in Sage 300, locations are equal to warehouses. Essentially, for us, a location is a subsection of a warehouse. Suppose you could also call it a bin if you really wanted to go down that far. We do not support bins, and having said that, we do not do full bins and locations. That's, I see many people, oh, Keith said bin, you see, we support bins. No, we don't support bins and locations. We just support locations, which is just a subsection of a warehouse. And the entire idea for having a subsection of a warehouse is that if, for instance, you have refunds, okay, then any refunds will go to the refund section, so that some over-enthusiastic salesman can't just go and sell something just because it's been brought back for a refund, because it might well be broken. So yes, we do support that here as well. All right. And we're going to go through, we will go through the rest of the fields and all the rest of it maybe a bit later, or probably tomorrow at the rate that we're going, because we need to, I really want to go through the point of sale this side, and we can go see exactly how it all fits together. So now I've selected a couple of items, and you've seen I can do an item search, I can do a customer search. If I want to, I can just click the quantity button, and that will allow me to go and change the quantity of the item that's there. And you'll see I can also do pluses and minuses if I want. That will do that. I can even enter things such as item comments, if there is a specific comment that needs to go through for an item. And this is actually taking me through to the sale, to the item sale information. This information over here, let me actually go through to the, there you go, item edit. Now, this is the line item information. This is the information that is associated specifically with this pineapple, or these pineapples that I'm buying. And this includes things such as your price, your quantity, and I can change it from here as well. If I select that, it will ask me to change that with nice big chunky buttons so that people's fingers can go and can find out exactly where, can go and actually hit the right buttons. Tax code resolution, how does it resolve which tax code it uses? Is there a specific discount that's associated with it? Either amount or percent. You can put that in straight here on the side on the POS. Things like surcharges. You can actually add in surcharges. These do come across in, once again, check your local ERP integration listings for how they exactly integrate across, but they will integrate across to your ERP. Where things are being delivered from, which location it's being sold from. Is it being sold from a specific area, or from a specific area in the store, or is it or has it been selected from somewhere else? You'll see this has defaulted to the sale location. Then also the salesperson, and we do actually support having multiple salespeople selected. That is something else, but that's something we'll have a look at a bit later. Finally, comments, if there are specific comments. I actually have this, I've got iVend implemented in a number of tailors, so who make clothes. They will go and embroider things like on your cups, you know, do you want a monogram? Do you want, you know, taking the cuffs, widen the shoulders, that kind of stuff. They will go and actually make and type orders. So as you can see, there is no spell check. So, right, all's fair. Okay, but that only affects this line. If I go to the top line and I go item edit, you'll see that it doesn't have any of the comments in that are listed. It's got different prices and other things associated with it. Rather, that is now going to be its own separate line item information I'll be editing. I can, if I want to go edit information for the entire sale, I come here to sales edit, and over here I can do things like entering customer reference numbers, loyalty information, discounts, surcharges, delivery places, layaway plans, and other bits and pieces. Layaway plans, just to be clear, layaway, lay-by, right there, those are generally the same thing in most countries. If you're not familiar with it, let me know and I will walk you through. Well, we're going to go through the actual setup and how this works in a couple of days, but I will show you how we can go work it with that. Delivery tracking numbers, shipping types, comments. The comments over here are specifically for the entire sale as opposed to just one sale. Okay, and over here, if I want to go and void an item, so for instance, if I want to go and void this pineapple, I can click void item, and that will delete just the selected line. So it will just delete the pineapples. Okay, you see it's still selected for Edward Robinson. I still have my other item here. Typically, that would require an approval from a manager because it's also one of the, and if you are not familiar with the sales environment, I will warn you now. Yeah, people are always trying to find ways to, with the best will in the world, in a shop, everyone is always trying to find a way to go steal something. It's horrendous. It's estimated that, well, what do they call it? Shrinkage. I was actually speaking to a store manager the other day. He was saying they estimated that 50% of their stock loss at best, no, actually it wasn't 50%, it was 60%. 60% of the items that were stolen in the store were stolen by the staff. Yeah. And a bit later on, I'll get into some stories I have about that because I know of a couple of cases where staff stole so much from a store, they actually burned down the store because they figured, because once management caught on to them, they figured it would just be easier to go burn down the entire store than to actually go and be caught for how much they'd actually stolen. They figured that would be a lesser crime. So, yes, adventures in retail. It does happen. Next up is void current transaction, where I'm going to just void everything, and it's then going to go and clear exactly what I had. I'm just going to search, and we're going to select Edward Robinson again. So you'll see that's now cleared everything that was there. I'm just going to bring up an item. There we go. I'll bring up the shirt. You can see that I've worked this for a long time. I know all the product codes off by, I know a lot of the product codes off by heart. Suspend recall. This allows me to go and suspend a transaction and then recall it a little bit later. Now, the reason that you do this is if I suspend a transaction, there might be, so for instance, somebody's in the, somebody's making a large purchase. So let's say at a supermarket, they've got a full trolley, they are buying a huge pile of stuff, and halfway through they say, oh, hang on, wait, I forgot to get cheese or whatever it might be. And they quickly say, just wait, I just need to quickly go get that. And while they go run off to go and get that, what the cashier can do is they can suspend the sale. Yes, they can help the person behind them. And then when the other person gets back, they can then go and recall the sale. There we go, and then they can carry on with the with helping that person. Guys, please, if you please don't put, if you have a question, Zeph, please rather just type the question. Don't rather type the question rather than put your hand up. There we go. Okay, right, okay, so Zeph says there's an expiry date reminder field on the item master, but is it linked to a report, or is there any report that reflects that currently? Zeph, I believe there is. We'll have a look at that when we get to the reporting, probably in a couple of days. So just maybe keep an eye, when we get back across to that, we'll have a look at that and go see exactly what, and we'll see exactly what's there. I do believe there is actually a report on it. I do know that with 6.6 that we are re-looking at a lot of the expiry dates and lot numbers and serial number information that, well, the way that that actually works in iVend, because it did need an overhaul. So I do believe that it is near somewhere. I don't know off the top of my head exactly where that is, but it is in here somewhere if I remember correctly. Okay, right there. Kirsty has a question. Is there a time limit for a suspended sale, and can it be used for cash sales? Kirsty, yes, it can be used for cash sales, and yes, you can set a time limit in. Well, kind of, you can set a time limit in. The time limit effectively would be that it's a, effectively you can go say, do you want to go delete the suspended sales at the end of the day? So typically you've got an option, do you want a suspended sale to carry on past the end of the day, or do you at end of day delete the suspended sales? Most places I know, they just delete the suspended sales at the end of the day. To be honest, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make that much sense to go and have the suspended sales carry on past the end of the day for a number of reasons. Number one really being it's just, yeah, there's, it's, I can't really actually, well, number one being is that you don't really want them to just hang around in the system until somebody says, okay, delete suspended sale. The other reason is that most people, if you suspend, the entire idea with a suspended sale is that it's meant to be suspended and then used within like a couple of hours. If it was going to be overnight, then it should have maybe been a sales order as opposed to a suspended sale. That's really my feeling on it. Most suspended sale is for the guy has a problem and he wants to go away and come back. So say another reason you could suspend the sale is, for instance, guy tries his credit card and the card says declined, or it goes and it says cannot connect. The guy says, hang on, wait a minute, let me go get some money and then I'll come back and pay it. You can suspend the sale, guy goes away, gets money, comes back, you recall the sale, he pays it, he carries on. That's the idea behind it. If it's going to be longer than something than that, I would say rather go with a sales order in that process. It should be something like a sales order or a quote or something like that than a suspended sale. That's normally the logic behind it. All right. After that, we look at one more question. No problem, Kirsty. All right. After that, we have a look at fulfillment. Now, the entire idea with fulfillment is you can sometimes get products that need to be delivered, or maybe you don't have them immediately in your store, they're in another store, but the person bought it and he will have it hand delivered. Or otherwise, maybe it needs to come out of a separate part of the store. For instance, when I find a lot of cases with hardware, so hardware or large items of furniture as well, is you'll go to the front, you'll do your purchase of the item, be it a couch, be it concrete, plumbing supplies, whatever it might be, wood. There'll be a point of sale in the actual store itself, and you'll say, I want blah, 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 and they go, I want wood, I want this a batch of 2x4s, nails, hammer, wood saw, whatever it might be, and there's concrete. Let's go with that. And they say, sure, no problem. Okay, the hammer, the nails, we can go and actually put through on the point of sale here, but then we'll give you a fulfillment slip, and then you go back to, because we've got a yard round the back, you go to the back of the yard and they help you pack your car with the wood and the concrete. So that, because you don't really want to cluttering up the store. Those are just big bulky items that are bought and sold in bulk, essentially. So there's no reason to just go have them lying around. So you take those, you go and you take those, you take your slip, you go around to the back, and there they will do what's called, they will do a fulfillment of the actual sale. So they put the stuff in your car. But they need to know what to, but as part of the security check, they need to know what to fulfill. So typically, here we go, got a question. Okay, Zeph has just asked, to eliminate theft, is it better not to allow the cashier to print or delete suspended sales and then configure the system to automatically delete it at the end of the day? Yeah, that's the best way to do it, Zeph. You don't actually want, typically the cashiers are meant to do certain things. They're meant to sell. That's the basis of the system. The entire idea of the cashier is they're meant to go scan things into the system and take your money and put it into the cash drawer. That's it. They are not meant to go and they're not. If they want to suspend something, then maybe that's they suspend or recall something. Typically, you can put a management authorization on that to go say, okay, you want to suspend it? Okay, hang on, I need to get my manager. Yeah, so that would be better. It would give you options for this depending on the way you want to go and implement things. It's up to you, really. Okay, after that, let's just go back to the fulfillment. So I'm going to go and add a fulfillment plan over here because I don't have this automatically set up. So I've got a fulfillment that's set there. I'm going to add all my products. So this is a fulfillment plan for delivery. Okay, where's it going to deliver from? And I can also choose to reserve my quantity or not. So the reason for this is if I buy something, technically it's mine, right there. It's if you sold. So if I'm a store and I sell something to you, you the customer, you've given me money for those specific items. You can't. Well, you shouldn't be able to go and technically resell those items to somebody else. Yeah, there are arguments that I've had with people around this is that, oh yes, but it's been 30 days and the guy hasn't collected his stuff, so therefore it reverts to us. But yeah, there's rules and regulations around that, and they change country to country. Please check your local laws with regards to that, because if you get it wrong, then yeah, I find retail law is an area that people are far more willing to go to, far more willing to go chase it down than say normal sort of business law. But yeah, for whatever reason, some people just enjoy doing it. But just be aware of that is that once I bought something from you, money's changed hands, so that is technically mine. So I can also tell the system to auto-reserve the stock of that item until I come and pick it up. Because it might be the case of I bought something, but I only want to pick it up tomorrow. And then I can also go change the date as to when I want to pick it up, how I want to pick it up, all the rest of it. I can go set that here. Click OK. So that fulfillment has now been attached to that sale. After that, I also have the option to do quick complete cash. This button is falling more and more out of favor. It used to be something that a lot of POS systems used. We don't really use it that much anymore. It's still there, but typically this button would be used for things like there's a chain of stores in the UK called Poundland, where everything in there is a pound. That's the price of everything. Same thing in the US. They had dollar stores. Everything in there is $1. No matter what happens, it's $1 for anything in there. That's it. Now for that's fine because those places are typically where you have got people are willing to carry around small enough denominations that, you know, hey, I can buy, you know, I can go in there, buy whatever I need, and then I can just do, then I can just go instantly pay for it. But in most other places, they're not really using this quick complete cash. If you want to direct, I'll show you the payment process in a minute, but if you want to direct link through, we can actually go set up the buttons. Well, you can set up a number of buttons for that. Finally, there's the payments, though we're going to come to that in a minute. So discounts and returns, I can choose to go change price. If I do that, it brings up a nice little calculator here. And I can choose to go change the price for the actual item if I've got the rights. Next thing, line discount, same thing, sales discount. These are basically just shortcuts through to that specific field that we saw earlier on the line edit and the sale edit. Manager override, if I want to go and engage manager override, it will actually go and ask me to go and put in our manager username and password. going to cancel because we're not going to engage that. Select transaction mode. We'll come back to that in a minute. Price check. So if I want to price check something, I can go type in, there you go. That's the thing. That's what it is. That's the price discount. That's something you can put there. And then finally, open user menu. The user menu being the user menu which is on the back side of the actual POS. But for the moment, before I carry on too much further into the buttons, let's actually complete the sale. So I can go directly and select the cash button, which will take me through to the cash payment type if I want. Otherwise, I'm going to actually go to payments. Now payments over here, this contains all the different types of payments that I can do in the system. You can have as many different payment types as you want. There is no limit. You can do part payments. So if you want to do, so let's say I wanted to only pay $100 on cash and the rest of it put it on credit card, I can do that as well. You can even do things such as foreign currencies. You can even set specific foreign currencies. You do need to go and set in your exchange rates for those, though. So those will need to be set in the system. You can do checks. We'll come back to the different types of tender types that you can do later on, well, probably tomorrow once we get into Management Console. So over here, I'm going to do cash. I can even do things like discounts and surcharges. Typically, this, once again, check your local laws. I know this is technically illegal in South Africa, but what they used to say was if you wanted to buy like a can of Coke with a credit card, they would charge you an extra R5 for it because the banks used to go charge. The banks used to charge for every credit card transaction that went through. And it only made sense if you were buying, say, 50 Rand or more's worth of stuff. These days, they've changed that slightly, so that's not a problem, but it's still technically illegal to do that out here in South Africa. If I'm going to pay cash, well, you can also do discounts and you can do surcharges on there. So, for instance, for discounts, a good example was when I was in Italy, going and implementing a site, they said if somebody pays more than 2,000 euros in cash, then they get a 2% discount. At which point I said, well, if they're paying more than 2,000 euros in cash, I don't think they care about the 2% discount. But apparently that was something that they wanted. The other thing to just, and yeah, there are other limits. Please just check once again to give you another idea about certain limits about what you can and can't do. In Italy, you can't pay more than 3,000 euros in cash for anything, and that's specifically to combat the mafia. Yeah, so you will run into these things in your different countries, trust me. Okay, so I'm going to say that I'm going to pay 110 bucks for this item. Okay. And there we go. It's now gone through. It's now going through. It's saving and printing my transaction. And there we go. It will issue any passes or updates or whatever it might be. There we go. And it will tell me what my change due is. I can have this time out. If it times out, it will go, say, in 3, 2, 1, close, and then it goes straight back to my, well, in this case, I've set it to go to this screen, but typically it would actually go through to my, typically it would come straight back to the screen once I'm done. All right, so some final bits and pieces. We've got about 15 minutes left. Some final bits and pieces I just want to go through and show you over here. Things such as my transaction types, sale, refund, exchanges, special orders, layaways, quotations, gift certificates and coupons. You can, so for instance, what you can do in iVend is we can have a mixed sale. So let's say I've scanned this item as a sale, but then I go refund. You'll see it changes my sale type to sales refund. I go one. So you see, technically over here, I'm refunding one of these and I'm selling one of those. Let's make it a bit more fair and go put that up to 3. There we go. So now he is actually paying in, but he's selling a bit of one and he's returning one and buying something else in its place. Okay. I can also do what's called an exchange. But typically what most people don't really use that functionality. They rather use sales and refunds. And just on the sales and refunds note, when it integrates through to your ERP, it will come through as a sale and a credit note. Okay, that's so it does actually go and match those two off in the ERP itself. I can also do a special order, but in order to do a special order, it will actually typically it actually requires me to go and have a specific customer. Well, in this case, the one I've selected is special. So let's just go. I'll go select it as Edward. There we go. So let's do a special order, and I can go and say, let's do a special order on that one, and you'll see it will actually pop up as a separate special order line that pops here. That comes here. So you can set that as well. I can also do layaways. Like I said, we'll come to that later. I can do quotes. I can't do quotes. I can't mix quotes in with a sale, refund, or order, or gift card, or coupon, because the quote itself is just a single quote document. Okay, we don't mix them in because it's a quote. It doesn't make sense to go and have, oh, it's a sale, it's a quote, oh, it's a sale, it's a refund, oh, and then this bottom bit's a quote. No, we'd rather just have the quotes as a completely separate thing. It's much easier. Incoming question, and Ian says that he's not connected to the audio. Ian, I'm very sorry, man. It seems to be something on your side. Most other people do not seem to be having issues with the audio. You can also issue gift cards and coupons from here if you want to do that for the actual special orders. Other miscellaneous things you can do, you can actually choose to add a customer directly from the point of sale. Now, you can edit this so that it doesn't go and have quite so much information the poor person at the till has to fill out. You can actually go change it so that they have very little that they actually need to fill out. But if you want to allow them to go add loyalty customers from the till, you can do that. That might be in their purview. It might also not be in their purview. They might just need to go view a customer, which you can do as well. I can also do things such as my transaction search, so I can see and I can set this up to go and search for the various transactions that we've done today. I can say what transaction types that are there, and also what sort of tender types there were. So I've got quite a few things I can search by. Including I can also do things such as, there you go, customer view, if I want to just see what the customer's like. And I can also see what hardware I'm using. Simulated poll display at the moment, apparently. And if there are any notifications for me, I can go check that. Apparently there's some purchase orders. Notifications are things that you can set in. You do not need to, we'll go more into exactly what they can and can't do and how exactly you can see things in here. And finally, inventory lookup, so I can see what inventory they have of that specific item. And then finally, POS operations such as cashing in, cashing out. I can even put in things such as expenses. So I don't think I can do that with, user does not have enough security to carry out the operation. So I'm stopped at that. I can print out X tapes, manage the tills. We'll come back to some of these others, but I'm sure, we'll come back to manage tills, time clock, and opening. Opening drawer will just open the cash drawer. We'll come back to locking the, we'll come back to the actual shutdown terminal and managing the tills a bit later. But lock POS and log out are fairly straightforward. Final thing I do want to point out on my on this, I'm just going to go back to sale, is I can also go bring up things such as my promotions. Now, promotions is what goes and really drives sales these days. I cannot explain to you the amount of money people spend going and saying how great their promotions are. Either you're going to go, there's two ways that people try sell things these days. Either they try go for a luxury item image, in which case they will still have promotions on, trust me, just to get into the market. Or otherwise they try go for or otherwise they go say, look, we've got the best, cheapest stuff. So yes, we've got a full-on promotions engine that is written into the system. And as you can see, it is triggered by going and scanning in the item that the promotion is associated with. So over here in this particular case, I've triggered one called buy X, get 50% off on Y. We weren't very imaginative when we labeled these things, but it does as says on tin. So I've scanned in that. I'll get a shirt and the girlfriend could go get a, she can get one of those. And you'll see it's actually changed it to a separate color. That is quite deliberate so that you can see, ha, the promotion has been applied. Because that's one of the biggest other problems with promotions is people say, oh, but hang on, we want to buy this. Oh, or we want to get that, but I didn't get my promotion. At which point the person can go through and actually look at the transaction. If we do this and then I do a transaction search, it will still keep this color associated with it. Then the store manager can say, no, you did get your promotion. Or, no, you didn't get your promotion. Have a gift card. So that's the important thing about it. You can see that it has actually been applied. All right. Okay, so from here, okay, we're almost out of time, but I just quickly want to go through to the user menu. There are some things on here I just very quickly want to go and actually show you. The first thing is, all right, well, void current transaction. That's pretty much the same as the previous one. Is you void that. Suspend or recall a transaction. You've got the same button over here. That's something that I do want to show you here is that the buttons that you get here are pretty much the same buttons that you can load up here. The advantage is that these buttons that are here, you can choose where you want to fit them in. And that is actually one of the things to look at is one of the things to think about is that when you're setting this up, typically you don't really want the cashiers to go to this menu. They should only really go to the front menu over here. The main point to go and access this menu is through the iVend Retail logo up top. You click on that and it takes you to the user menus here. Okay. Yeah, so there's a show scan transaction search. There's a transaction search as well. Customer search, registered loyalty customer search. You can even do a search for gift certificates. You know, so these are the ones that are actually out and about. And you can choose whether to recharge them or not. This over here, once again, I'm showing more things than are strictly necessary, specifically things like the serial number, because you would be amazed at how some of the cashiers who you wouldn't think would be able to count beyond 10 without taking their shoes and socks off are capable of remembering a 20-digit serial number. Yeah, right. It's infuriating when you say this person is dumber than two short planks, and yet somehow they are capable of going and remembering every credit card number that they had their hands on today. Just shows what some people's priorities are. And yes, I speak from experience when I've had that. So next one up, hardware setup. This is to go tell you what is set up in the system. There are other videos online with how the hardware is meant to be set up. I have actually done a couple of them. I don't want to go too far into this because it is a rabbit hole, and I believe that it's something you guys are going to encounter and you're going to have to deal with when you actually get to the hardware there. Hardware details, you can go see if it's what's working. At the moment, my poll display is working. And in case you're wondering what a poll display is, no, it's not something that the ladies of the local gentlemen's club do. It is one of these, a poll display. It means Adidas running. That was the last thing I scanned in. And to go give you an idea what a poll display looks like, might I suggest if you do search for this, make sure that you got your safe search on, because yeah, otherwise it's the internet. It will always bring up something weird. So yes, but this is a poll display. You see, poll display, right? So just be aware of that. Yeah, and I'm sure everyone's looking and going, oh, that thing. Yeah. I get that from every class I have. Yes, here we go. Works great. Easy setup. I know. Right. Okay, sure. Okay, so there's my poll. This is my poll display. I'm using a simulated poll display. We also have a simulated receipt printer that you can use. We will have a look at that probably tomorrow. We'll come back and do the time clocking and other features. right, we've actually, we have more or less run out of time. The time clocking, well, we've got current transaction entries, so let's just go and transaction. There we go. So I can go to time clock. And I can choose whether I go on break, come off break. This is very basic time clocking. It's not, what I would say is this is not really it will only really track your cashiers. It doesn't track things like people in the back of house or in the warehouse, when they sign in or sign off. Okay. Does something require management approval? You can activate that here. Do you want to just lock the POS? What is your system information? You might need if you want to go to, if you need something from support. Log out. Yeah, if I need to explain that, guys, then we've really got problems. Restore layout, shut down terminal, and request remote support. The remote support functionality has been removed at the moment, and in fact, we're actually phasing it out. Because to be very honest, we had remote support functionality built in, and nobody used it because everybody ended up using things like AnyDesk and TeamViewer because everyone knows what AnyDesk and TeamViewer are. And you can use AnyDesk and TeamViewer for just about anything, whereas our remote support is limited to iVend. Okay, then manage tools will do later. Open cache for 1, open cache for 2. Do you want to cash in or cash out? So put more cash in or take more cash out. And then do you want to expense anything if you want to expense that? Final thing I want to go point out about this, and it applies to both the point of sale and the management console, is how to get the help. And seriously, guys, we're not going to be writing the exam at the end of this, but when you do write the exam, the help, trust me, there are a lot of questions are drawn almost word for word from the help. Quite literally, you go and you type the question into the help, and the first entry it will bring up and go say, oh, this is how you do X, Y, and Z. But to access the help in iVend, you can't just press F1 like you would in most Windows stuff, because typically the function keys have actually other things linked through to them. So to give an example, if I go to payments, you'll see that F1 is linked through to the cash key. However, to activate it, I press Control F1. And then this will activate my POS manual help. You'll see it will tell me how to do my payments. It goes and it says what's refundable, all the rest of it. It even gives me a thing about getting started, performing sales transactions, steps to perform a sales transaction with POS, age verification, weighed items, all the rest of the stuff is actually in here. To access it, once again, you go Control F1, and then it will open up for you. Okay, and this is, trust me, there are times, specifically when you're looking and going, what does that button do? Or what does that do again? I know Keith talked about it, but oh yeah, customer information. Okay, well that's what it does. So that's what. So guys, that's what you need to just keep an eye out for. Trust me, Control F1 is the best thing that you can do to get help on here. And the best thing you can do to just go and remind you about what exactly things do and how things work. Okay, that brings us to the end of our first 2-hour session for today. If there are any questions, I'm more than happy to open the floor. So just type them in and I'll answer them. If I've already answered all your questions, then yeah, well, let's wait for a minute or two just for people to remember that, people to go and put away their emails and try and remember that question that they were thinking of from like half an hour ago but might have forgotten. So if you have a question, now is the time to ask. Ridwan, I can see you put your hand up. Okay, or if you've got a question, type it in the questions box. That's what it's there for. And then we will go and I will answer it. Okay, all right, just waiting for it to come through. If there aren't any other questions, then all right, here we go. Right. Airtime sales, Almond. Okay. All right, I've got two questions. One from Almond, one from Ridwan. Okay, first one up from Almond is airtime sales. Airtime sales typically are conducted through a payment gateway. It depends on how we are integrated through to that payment gateway. And it depends if we're integrated through to that payment gateway, to be very honest. If you want to go and integrate through to the payment gateway, that's up to you. There are a number of them we are already integrated through to. They each conduct airtime sales in slightly different ways. So it'll be up to you once you do the integration. I'm not sure which ones are in your area, Armin. So you'll need to go see which ones are available, and they will instruct you on how to do airtime sales. Okay, next one is where to download this recorded session. It should be available on the CKP. If not, I'll try and upload it to them today, and they can download it. If not, if they don't have a place, then I will try and put it in like a Google Drive or something that you can get it. And then at least you'll have access to it. Just let me know if you should get a link to it fairly shortly after this. Okay, next up, when Sage is integrated with Sage 3, when iVend is integrated with Sage 300 on the server, and there's need to, what are the steps to, okay, so, all right, so Ridwan, let me see if I got this right. iVend is integrated with Sage 300 on the server, and you need to reinstall Sage 300 on that server. What are the steps to be taken considering the integration with iVend? You need to shut down the integration. Okay. Once the integration is shut down, then you should be okay. So make sure your API connections are shut down, all of that. Then you should be able to uninstall Sage and reinstall iVend. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's pretty much the same with any ERP system. If the ERP is integrated, through, you should just need to go shut down the integration. Once the integration is shut down, then you can do whatever you need to on the ERP. Then once you've done that, you can restart the integration. Yeah, okay, so okay, this is in SARA. Okay, right there, I lost audio when you explained perpetual. You mean perpetual? Okay, just to be clear about perpetual licensing, perpetual is a year long. That's typically what I understand from it. Yeah, there is a, yeah, so, okay. What happens is with perpetual is you get the license, it's yours. The actual software is yours, but there is a 10% maintenance fee. So every year you'll have 10% of that come through to us for a maintenance fee, for upgrades and things like that. You don't need to pay it, but then we don't need to go give you won't have access to any of the latest updates. Just to be clear on that, most people just pay it and pay it to get the updates because it is worth it, because seriously, it's always worth it to go get the updates. Yeah, that's pretty much it from our side. So I also know that there are times when people haven't paid, and yeah, that's the other thing about payment of it is if, for instance, you buy it perpetual, choose not to, then after a couple of years, you choose not to pay the payment, to pay the maintenance fee. Then a couple of years later after that, you go and you see, hey, there's this really nice thing that we'd like in iVend. We will charge you for the previous maintenance fees that you missed to get back up to date with iVend. So really, it's just better to maintain the maintenance fee. That way you're guaranteed to get all the fancy bells and whistles and all the rest of it. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay. if there are no other questions, I'm going to go say thank you very much, everyone, for joining me for these past 2 hours and having me listening to me rattle on about the wonders and the miracles of iVend. So yeah, thank you very much. I can see you guys have come from all over. I will now that we're done, we can go release you back to your work or whatever else you might be doing. I hope you enjoyed this. I will try and see about getting this uploaded as soon as possible so everyone's got access to it. Yeah, and then I will see you tomorrow at the same time and the same time, same place. Since I says, I also observed that the payment process takes a few seconds. Does the process take longer as the DB grows bigger? No. Typically, the reason it takes the reason it's probably taking a bit longer on here is that my one's actually connected through to a payment gateway. I've turned off the connection, but it's still running through some of the calls to actually do the payment for it. Yeah, that was something that I've been testing, but like I said, this is my personal rig. It can take a moment or two just to get things going. But no, it doesn't take longer than that. It doesn't really take that long to actually process the payment. All right. Okay, now that we've covered that, if there are any more questions, yeah, Zeph, just remind me when we do the reports a bit later on. We'll cover your question there as well. All right, if there are any other questions, then yep. Or if you remember any questions later, please remember tomorrow morning you can go. Please remember, well, tomorrow morning for me. Tomorrow you can go ask them in the beginning. I will give you a bit of time to go. If anyone has remembered something that was burning that they forgot, then you can ask it and we will sort it out then. All right. Thank you so much, guys. We'll chat soon. Keep well. Right. Bye.